How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to the house at Fata Morgana. Oh my gosh, last episode was freaking amazing. We finally had our choice, and it looks like I'm guessing based on the ending and from little tidbits I picked up from you guys that I followed I guess I hit all the checkpoints to get a third option at the end. Normally you're just told to either accept or reject the story, which really would trip me up because there definitely were like a lot of signs that stuff was going wrong. But I also got the third one, which is saying, "Oh wait, there's more," and we've attempted to reclaim ourselves and found out that while it first was trying to tell us that we were the white-haired girl, we're not. And it turns out the white-haired girl might not have even been a real thing. It looks like Giselle, who is the maid, is the person that we're actually bonded with. And so that the witch is a third entity. Ooh. Oh, I love it. I real quick, I'm gonna check. I think backlog stuff's probably, yeah. I think the backlog stuff's probably done. Yeah, I looked through it last time. So I think we are now starting this final this last door. It really feels like it's the last door. Maybe there's more, but I think it's the end. Apparently this is the true fourth door, where like maybe the truth behind it, or maybe it's just it's before it. When I'm not really too sure on that, but regardless, it's going to be interesting. So let's jump in. I have no idea how long it's going to be. Probably will be a couple parts if it's anything like the other parts, but then again, who the heck knows? So join me once again for probably the build up to the conclusion of this story. But oh man, was this fun. Okay. It had been several days since I left the capital, and I could still see it when I closed my eyes. The people lined up on the Grand Point awaiting entry, eager to start a new life there, brimming with hope. It was a city people were willing to pay high taxes to live in. If you were a performer, you could get some of those costs shaved down a bit by putting those skills to use. The capital was harsh on those who wanted in, and apathetic about all who left. It was composed of a powerful nobility and clergy, wealthy merchants and bankers, and a large population of poor. And it was the city I had called home for a long time. I didn't know how much about where I was heading. It's Giselle, and if Giselle's the maid, then I should be using the maid's voice. Oh. Ooh, here's the music. It's getting foggy. Looks like it might rain. Maybe we should take a little break. You want to keep going? Oh, alright then. The coachman was frustratingly taciturn. He acted as though he'd gotten stuck transporting a prisoner, though that was hardly a stretch. From his point of view, I was nothing more than a criminal. Even the times he would acknowledge I said anything, he made no effort to hide the scorn in his eyes, to pretend he didn't regret ever taking this job. And I would just fall silent again. Okay, so this is Giselle's story. So she's narrating again. So I'm going to start doing her voice for the narration too, because that makes sense now that I know what's going on. The road was gradually getting narrower. We had long since left the paved city roads behind, and now we're traveling along a couple worn-down grooves in the forest. How did I end up here? Why was I being subjected to this? I was done thinking about it. The more I thought on it, the less fair it seemed. The more I remembered, the worse it hurt. All I could do anymore was close my eyes and weather the storm. The mansion. Deep within the dense woods, a mansion appeared before us like the world fading into the view after a dream. It didn't seem to be an especially large house, but had obviously been constructed with a great deal of care, and it was, thankfully, not standing in ruins. Okay, so in this one, so she's from a big city, but is the big city close to the mansion in this story, or she traveled really far to get to the mansion? It's implying that the mansion's close to the big city, so if that's the case, then maybe this is the original location of it. This deep in the forest? The carriage came to a stop, and the coachman climbed down, signaling with his chin for me to get out. Thank you very much. You must be tired after such a long journey. This is the mansion I am looking for, yes? Okay, so it was a long way away. But the driver didn't even acknowledge me, getting back into the carriage and setting off into the forest. He seemed to want to get as far away from here as quickly as possible. He could have said something. Oh well. That was about all I could say anyway. Oh well. I couldn't blame anyone for my being here, or for his wanting to get out. I should get going, I guess. Now, okay, this is a little reminiscent. If she meets Michel, then this is similar to the memory that we saw in the mirror, the black mirror that we passed. Getting a better look at it, the house's windows were, strangely enough, all shuttered. I was probably dark as pitch inside. Does no one live here? But if that's the case, then why was I placed my hand on the front door. Such a big door. What if I couldn't get in? I had no idea what else was in the area. If the door didn't open, then I would die out here in the forest. I've come to accept much, but I was not ready to forfeit my life yet. Please open. It's not locked, I guess. Okay. So, in the first story, it was a white-haired girl being called a witch and chased through the forest. In this one, she was dumped here. The door was heavy, and though it seemed to protest my attempts to enter, it still opened much easier than I was expecting. I was worried over nothing. Looking in, I got the strange impression that light was being swallowed up into the mansion's depths. Rather than going inside, it felt as though I was about to step outside the boundaries of this world. When I closed the door, it was so dark I couldn't even tell where I was walking. I wonder if there are windows open. Though I managed to fumble my way over to a window, it was tightly shuttered, and the shutters caked with rust. I was probably not going to open it without a fight. Darn, not a hint of light. I couldn't even see my hand waving in front of my face. It felt as though the floor would fall out from under me, and I would sink into eternal darkness if I didn't watch my step. Fighting back that fear, I slowly walked forward, tracing the wall with my hand. There was a door at the end of the long corridor. I pulled it open, and a wisp of bone-chilling air brushed past me. It was too dark to see anything, but I could feel something different present in this area than the rest of the house. Uneasiness gripped me. Hello? Is anyone there? Please, don't tell me I'm actually abandoned. I suppose I can't know without looking around a bit more. My voice simply disappeared into the void. No response. As I pushed forward through the freezing air, for a split second, I spotted a shimmer of light. Squinting my eyes, I was able to make out a large window. Unlike the others, it wasn't shuttered. What do we have here? Drapes? I see a little light beyond. My chances were slim, I imagined, but if there was even a slight possibility of getting some light in here, it was worth a shot. So I pulled open the drapes. Oh, it's the Michael picture. Excuse me. The next moment, faint but colorful light shone down on me. It was a stained glass window. From beyond the glass, I could hear the subtle pitter-patter of rain. It finally started, it seemed. The different colors of light blended into a milky white, dim but wondrous. It's so pretty. It looks like an angel. Why would someone cover this up? It's beautiful. With a little more light, it'd be... Please, do not touch the drapes. Because I think that's Michel. I think that's us. Or the windows. Suddenly I heard a voice. I could sense someone else in the room. Yeah. Okay. So this is the original interaction. Because so the lines here are fairly similar. The man's voice was motionless, neither deep nor high. Before long, he came into view, illuminated by a dull orange candlelight. Yeah, there's our boy. I'm sorry for coming in uninvited, but, I did announce myself. It's weird doing it in a different voice, but the lines are so similar. The man stood there, practically blending in with the darkness. Had he been there the whole time? He was staring straight at me. His gaze wavered slightly, but not enough for me to read anything in it. Then again, I could hardly make out any detail at all under the light of the single candle. Is this, your mansion? It is. Thank goodness. I was afraid it was deserted. I suspect you would have preferred it if the house were abandoned. Oh, no, not at all. I would be scared to death staying in a dark mansion all by myself. Oh, I'm sorry. No ill will intended. But I do think it could do with some light. That way you could see where you were walking. I'm sure this room would look splendidly illuminated. Not necessary. I make do perfectly well as things are. How can you see when it's so dark? I have an abundance of candles, oil for lamps. I am not in want of means of creating light. It is not your place to criticize my lifestyle. If you need light, you are free to leave. If you are in need of money, help yourself to some of the furniture. There is a village not far from here. Trade it for food, then make your way to the larger town. I am no longer able to freely return to the city. I cannot go back there. Please, don't chase me out. I see. And do you ask this of me aware of how people refer to this mansion? They say that a witch lives here. Not merely a witch. A cursed witch. A cursed witch. If you remain here, you too shall likely suffer your own destruction. You're worried about my well-being? Witch or not, my mind is made up. I was sent to this cursed witch's mansion to atone for my transgressions back in the city. It didn't matter where I lived, what lived here. I had no choice. Which will strike you first, I wonder? Regret or the curse? You seem to be doing just fine. It's only a tale. The witch is real, very much so. It is not a legend nor a fairy tale. The witch. The witch's name was Morgana. It's me. The witch's name was Morgana, not Michel. Yes. Okay, backlog. Let's see quick. Yeah, see, this all looks normal. I think we're finally out of the craziness. Yes. That was our first encounter. It was nothing flowery or dramatic. It was rather laced with suspicion and wariness. We knew nothing about one another, and I had no interest in changing that. But nonetheless, that was where it all began, where my history with her commenced. Interesting. Wow. Oh, now we've flipped positions to Michel. She is very pretty. Very pretty. The woman had jade eyes. Opened wide, they glimmered like jewels in the light shining through the stained glass window. She seemed to be at a loss for words. I wasn't lying, per se. The rumors said a witch lived in this house, and I was the only one who filled that criteria. Thus, said the rumors could be interpreted as be talking about me. After staring at me dumbfounded for a few moments, the woman suddenly burst into laughter. Wow! Here, I was thinking you were kind of scary, and it turns out you're actually quite funny. What? I never would have guessed you were someone to tell such a ridiculous joke with a straight face. I wasn't... You don't look at all like a witch. I mean, it's dark, and I can't really see, but you seem to me like a rather handsome man. Wait, what? The word witch. The word witch had a broader meaning than just a woman who practices magic. Any unholy person with cursed powers, man or woman, can be considered a witch. I think I get what you're trying to say, but my mental image of a witch is definitely more a woman.
So you're not a witch. To tell you the truth, I didn't know who else might be here, which had me rather scared. But I think I can make this work.
Aww. She's adorable. What do you...
It's a pleasure to meet you, Master.
Master?
I was sent here from your old home.
Oh.
I wasn't Abigail for your mother, but, well, I might have made a little goof.
I froze the moment the word left her mouth. Home. It rattled around in my skull, shaking up terrible memories that almost brought me to my knees. Why, after all these years, were they reaching out to me now? And not even sending someone to bring me back, just sending someone. To what end? For what purpose had they shipped an Abigail out to this remote mansion? And I do remember, Abigail is like a personal attendant. We learned that from the Mel and Nellie story. What was my mother thinking? Was this another one of her attempts to break my curse? What do you mean you made a little goof? My voice came out weak. I did my best not to let it show on my face.
It was a teeny tiny mistake. Nothing you need concern yourself with.
What did Mother say about me?
Well, it was actually your father who told me to come here. I never really spoke to your mother much.
Father sent you? That made even less sense. Why would he have... Did Father even know I was here? No, if he had known, I would have been... Who was this woman? And what was her goal in asking me to stay here?
Well, there you have it. I'll be here for a while. If you need me for anything, do not hesitate to ask. I'm confident I can handle most everyday tasks. Now, where should I begin? Oh, I know. Are you hungry, Master? Food? I can't imagine you eating much, being as skinny as you are.
I turned my back on her without responding. No matter what her goal was, she had been sent from that house. There was no way anything good could come from that, and there was no way I could live with someone who had ties to them. I prayed she would take the hint, give up, and leave.
Master?
And so I kept ignoring her.
Master! Master!
I ignored.
Master!
I ignored her.
Master, what would you like for supper?
Nothing! But failed, spitting back and shouting. Her eyes went wide, and then she gave me a sheepish giggle. I glared at her as she fidgeted uncomfortably.
Eating is one of the most basic human needs, so if you're hungry, you should really eat.
I said I didn't want. She is determined. What was that sound?
Must you ask? That's not a very polite thing to ask a lady, you know.
Was that her stomach? Huh?
It was a long trip, and all I had to eat while on the road was dried fruit. I felt like I was some kind of animal. So, what I'm trying to say is that I'm hungry.
That wasn't the sound of her stomach growling, was it? I thought lightning had struck in the distance. Dang, that was cavernous, apparently.
And would like some supper.
The kitchen is as far into the hall on the first floor. There's food in the cellar. Help yourself to any of it.
Thank you so much. I honestly feel like I haven't eaten in days, and I'm about to die of starvation. Oh, and I shouldn't need any help finding it. I plan on exploring the house anyway. It's rather exciting, being in a new place.
Ugh. Dang it. This did not go as planned. Oh well. She can do as she pleases. I'll have nothing to do with it.
Oh, Master, are you sure you don't?
No.
Master.
What is it now?
My name is Giselle. It's a pleasure to meet you. And your name, Master, you...
I actually left the room that time, making my way back to my chambers. At some point, I would seriously have to chase her out, especially considering she had come from that house. But regardless, I was not terribly fond of her. Okay, fascinating. Yeah, that interaction was very different from the last one. Oh, we're switching perspective again. I wonder if there must be a tell I'm missing that tells me exactly when they switch sides. And I'm still checking. Like, there's really nothing gonna be in here because it's all the normal stuff. I keep waiting for the witch to try and intervene again.
I didn't really understand, Michel, but that was probably because we were still essentially strangers. Having been sent to a mansion as reparation for my mistakes, I wasn't sure who I might find there. But I was tentatively convinced he wasn't a terrible person. He didn't do anything to me except stay away. Michel spent most of his time in his chambers, which he told me to never enter under any circumstances. So we rarely encountered one another in the halls. For that reason, I made an effort to be kind and cheerful on the sporadic occasions we did cross paths. I figured if I kept that up long enough, he would eventually warm up to me.
That's optimistic.
And as new housemates, being able to enjoy our time together was obviously preferable to the alternative. If I did manage to break the ice, I hoped we would be able to do some talking about the mansion, about him, about me. I just had to keep working at it.
It'd be so lonely. It'd be so hard, especially if you're like used to being with people.
Michel didn't need me to take care of him. He handled his own day-to-day needs and activities by himself, and in fact, he didn't ask me for anything. An aristocrat who had no use for a servant. I hadn't met anyone like him before. Alright then. That meant about all I could do was clean. I wasn't sure how his room looked, but the rest of the house was, quite frankly, an absolute disaster. The dust was so heavy it was obvious he hadn't been touched in years. Let's get started. It could hardly be healthy to live in these conditions, so I set about to clean each room of the house one by one. That said, it wasn't going to be an easy task. Not because I was bad at cleaning, in fact I considered myself quite good at it, but because it was near impossible to find all the dust and grime that needed cleaning under the flickering light of a candle. I can't understand how anyone sane could live in this dark. What's wrong with him? Maybe he's actually a vampire. Oh gosh, wouldn't that be something? I can see it now, him sneaking out every night to suck the blood of pretty girls. Priceless. God, that means I'm in trouble. Look at me, Miss One-Woman Comedy Show here. Yep. If I am able to get him to warm up to me though, maybe that'll give me a little more room to make some changes. Like opening some windows. No light, no fresh air, no thank you. Anyway, I set the candles down and pulled over a chair to stand on and started wiping that down the shelf. The chair's legs seemed to be uneven, and it wobbled slightly beneath me. So many books. I wonder, do they all belong to him? I knew parchment was expensive, so it was rather astonishing to see this many stacks of it in one place. There was even some books with bulky, extravagant decorative covers. He does come from an esteemed family. I spent enough time in his family's home. It was a constant bustle of servants and guests, the exact opposite of what this mansion was like. Why had he left his home? What had he done to be sent all the way out here to this remote mansion with a less than savory reputation? Need to be more careful not to overstep my bounds. I am a servant now. A servant. But once the thought had crossed my mind, I couldn't get it out. I'd always had a bad tendency to chase my curiosities as soon as they struck, pushing to scratch the itch no matter how much my actions annoyed others. I couldn't do that here, though. I was simply a servant, and if I got on Michel's bad side, I risked getting thrown out. I wonder what kind of books he's got in here. So I attempted to distract myself. I grabbed one of the books and attempted to pull it out. What? But the strings binding the parchment must have gotten tangled at the back. Whoa! Because the books on either side tilted back with it. Ah!
That's a better scream.
And the entire row came crashing down on top of me. Ow! Oh, for cripe's sake.
She talks like me.
I'd fallen off the chair, and a downpour of books were still coming down on me. Ow! A mountain of dust with it. Seriously? What are you
doing?
What? Suddenly, Michel was there, looking down at me from a little ways away. There was, as usual, not much I could read from his expression, but I could hear his vague trace of exasperation in his voice. I was doing some cleaning, and...
Impressive work.
I am usually better than this. It's just so dark. Mistakes should be expected. I really think we should open some windows, Master. Get some light airflow in here, air flowing through here.
I never asked you to clean anything. You did this entirely yourself.
But there's so much dust. That can't be good for you.
I'm perfectly healthy. I don't see the problem.
Had he even seen himself? No way someone that skinny was perfectly healthy.
You look like you have something to say.
He can make out my face in this darkness. You know, I wanted to be useful. Cleaning is about all I can do here, so, you know.
I was sensing something else, but alright.
He let out a sigh, stepped over toward the pile of books, and then reached his hand down for me. I suddenly felt a pang of embarrassment about the fact that I was still splayed out on the floor, but I raised my hand up to take his, only for him to pick up a book instead. You could at least help me up.
You have legs.
He said, casually returning the book to the top shelf. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he was a terrible person.
That's funny. The last time was all about not killing her, and this time it's just plain ignoring. Alright, so now it's Blue over here, so I'm guessing we're shifted to his perspective again. Yep. Her character design is so cool. It's so interesting. I love her eyes.
So, Master, are all these books yours?
Giselle asked, not a trace of remorse visible on her face despite having made a mess of the room she was supposedly trying to clean. I gave a curt nod.
Really? That's impressive. Must have been hard work getting them all in here, huh? There's gotta be 100 books in here. You could fill a whole carriage at least. It's like you got your own personal library.
She had been pouting only a few moments earlier, but her smile was back in short order. Her jade eyes were like little balls of curiosity, glittering in the faint candlelight. I was not particularly fond of rather overtly curious women. Did they not care that they traveled uninvited into people's personal spaces? Or were they not even aware that their actions were invasive? I averted my gaze from hers. I receive one roughly every month.
Ah, I see. Wait.
She turned back towards the shelves. I presumed she understood the implications of what I just said. Of the fact that there was nearly 100 tomes here, and I received only one a month. Yeah.
Huh.
Giselle fell silent. I couldn't blame her if she thought my circumstances or my family, or my life, bizarre. But I didn't care what she thought of me. In fact, it was to my advantage with her being uncomfortable. I just needed her to stay quiet, keep her nose out of my business. There's more than I thought. I said not to her, but to myself. I had no reason to count the passage of time anymore. Only the books served as a record of how long I had been here.
121.
What?
There are 121 books. 10 years and 1 month?
You were counting? I thought she'd just sheepishly gone quiet. What an inscrutable woman.
You've been here in a mansion for that long. All by yourself.
The truth was, there had been times when I wasn't alone. But Giselle had no need to know that. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, wait a minute. So last time, he could kill people by touching them. In this case, when servants have been sent here, they eventually passed away too. Maybe maybe we're gonna get a little more of the beast vibe from him. Or maybe the mansion just literally kills them. You know, it tends to do that to people. You already know the answer. A look of pity formed in Giselle's eyes. Enough. I never asked for her sympathy. I am here by choice.
You mean you weren't banished here?
No restraint, this woman. No. I came here for my own volition. I didn't care enough to elaborate, though. Picking up another book off the floor, I brushed the dust off its cover. It was a gaudy, decorated tome.
That's a very fancy book, isn't it?
But apparently, Giselle was unable to take a hint.
What's it about?
I let out a sigh and opened the page, no page in particular, sticking the book out toward her. She was a servant and a woman. There was no way she could read.
Let's see here. This land is hardly suitable for cultivation. It can only produce over-sour grapes. I would probably get more out of it if I tore down the fields and made it into a market. Sounds like a lord's diary.
You can read. I was caught slightly off guard. It was rare for a noble woman to be able to read and write, let alone a servant. Was she truly what she claimed to be?
I had someone to teach me. So, this book any interesting?
It's dull, worthless tripe. I can't imagine why anyone thought it was worth binding.
Tough crowd. But it's not very often you get to see a lord's diary. I am rather curious what kind of things he brags about.
Lord or king, what value was there in another's grumbling? There was no knowledge contained within that book. Just emotions, unsightly scribbles. And there was nothing more exhausting in the world than being emotional. If you want to read it, be my guest.
That wasn't my intention, but alright. Once I've got through the whole mansion clean, I'll read it.
I told you, you don't have to clean.
Oh, I've got an idea, Master. If you're interested, maybe we could read together.
Did you hear a word I just said? It's dull, worthless tripe.
Still, you might see it differently if you read it with someone else.
Wow, she's the epitome of optimism.
And I'm sure there are some books in here you would enjoy, Master.
You're wasting your time. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, this is very cool. I liked seeing how like it's so similar to the original story we read, The Fourth Door, but how different it is as well. The suspicion and restraint budding between us was trite and insignificant at that point. She was still smiling, after all. If I had been able to maintain that distance, then perhaps I wouldn't have ended up hurting her. And now we're switching to her. Yeah. So yeah, the color of the plant in the corner determines whose point of view we're looking at.
It had been a little under 2 weeks since I moved in with Michel. Though we lived in the same house, we rarely saw each other. On unlucky days, I wouldn't see him at all. I wasn't sure if he ate in his room, or our schedules were simply misaligned, but we never had any meals together. Perhaps he was deliberately avoiding me. That has to be it. I know servants and masters don't usually eat at the same table, but even so, he could at least be a little less obvious about it. Am I really that much of a nuisance? I'm not doing anything inappropriate, am I? I'm being pleasant and sociable, aren't I? I haven't given him any reason not to like me, I think. I hope. He had never been very enthusiastic about my staying here, but I hadn't been given a choice. I had been sent here by his family. Besides... No. Out with the negative thoughts. Gotta stay positive.
Aw, she's adorable.
Yeah, he hasn't tried to chase me out yet. I just haven't broken the ice. I had to stay positive, optimistic, happy thoughts, and be myself. As long as I kept working at it with enough time, Michel would surely come around and not be so distant. I've got a goal, so let's get to work. First, I'll make supper, then I ask him to have it with me. Gotta be proactive when it comes to the reclusive types. Alright, here goes. Oh, here would go. But we're almost out of supplies. Well, so much for that. The cellar was where the non-perishable foods were stored. Dried food, smoked meats, cheeses, and a small scattering of root vegetables. Looking at this makes me feel like I'm a soldier holding down a castle's fortifications. Had Michel really gone 10 years on nothing but this, I would have raised the white flag long ago. He said he hadn't left the mansion in all those 10 years. I assume he goes out until he gets supplies, right? Running out of food is kind of a life or death matter. Can't believe he hasn't set food outside even once in...
What are you babbling on about?
Ah! Oh no, he overheard me.
I assume you were talking to someone.
Huh? Does anyone else live here, Master? I haven't seen anyone.
It's just the two of us. Alive, anyway. That's not ominous at all.
You mean there are ghosts?
Something of the sort.
There you go again with the jokes. I'm not a child. You're not going to trick me like that.
There are adults who believe in such things.
I suppose. But I don't really believe in ghosts or demons or curses or any of that. The church just tries to convince people they're real so they can squeeze more money out of them.
Am I going to have to turn you over to the church, you blasphemer?
No. I pray every day, honest.
I don't particularly care either way. I'm returning to my chambers.
What? Already? You didn't, come down for food?
I only came down because I heard voices.
A moment, please. Just wait a sec.
What?
Our stores are almost empty. What do you normally do when you need more food? I'll happily accompany you on a trip to the market.
Already? That was fast.
There are two of us. I really don't need that much, do I?
In the dim light, it was difficult to make out Michel's expression, but I thought I could see a tinge of annoyance on his face.
Hold your ground, Giselle. He said you wanted to get closer to him. Is that a parsnip?
Michel was holding on a tangled ball of roots. The reason I asked was because the parsnip looked like it was on the verge of total decomposition. See, there's still food. He then handed it to me.
Wait, you want to eat that? It's clearly seen better days. You're gonna get sick. Or are you telling me you can survive on rotten vegetables?
Of course I won't eat it. I just figured you would hardly survive. You were hardy enough to survive. Michel's got an interesting sense of humor.
What do you think I am? No, he's definitely a jerk.
Or that resulting diarrhea might reduce your appetite.
You're kidding, right? You can't be serious. Anyway, we should bury that outside. Then we can go purchase fresh supplies.
I told you, I don't like going outside.
Then how do you... Huh? A visitor? Who could it be?
Perfect timing. You're a servant. Make yourself useful. Go retrieve the package. If it's not a delivery but a wanderer, chase them off.
What package? Master? Oh, hold on a sec. What are you talking about? He's gone. What kind of delivery is he expecting? Michel stood there, unmoving, veiled in shadow. He glanced over at me, then threw his gaze at the front door. At his command, I raised the bar, pulling open the door.
Blinding lights.
After nearly 2 weeks inside, the light from the setting sun almost blinded me. The world went white, my head pounding.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Microphone.
After a few moments of intense blinking, my eyes acclimated themselves to the evening sunlight. There was no one outside, only a crate easily large enough to fit a child. Is this the package, Master?
I turned back to face Michel, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. Though it seemed more like he was avoiding looking at the light rather than me.
He's starting to seem more and more like a vampire. Not that I believe in vampires, of course. Regardless, I pray there's nothing bad in here. Ugh, that's heavy. Master, could I get some help? Gee, thanks. I am a servant admittedly, but this is a lot to ask of just one girl. A little help would sure be nice.
Once it's inside, close and bar the door.
He said dispassionately. His head still turned toward the darkness. As you wish, master.
Alright, I've got a theory, because like one of the themes running through this with the white-haired girl is how her appearance, her white hair and ruby red eyes, caused her to constantly kind of be shunt aside and how she was sensitive to sunlight. We see that Michel seems to have white eyes, and his eyes aren't red, they seem to be more pink, so it feels like this is kind of interesting, because like the white-haired girl did seem like a fabrication, almost like a too good to be true type scenario, where he is really an albino, and possibly that's part of his curse. That his curse isn't actually that he can touch things and they die. I think his curse is that he's albino, and people back then didn't know what to do with that. So there's like, alright, you don't like sunlight, go live in this mansion we just own. You can just do what you want, live how you want there. But like, they just ignored him, called him a freak, whatever. Now, of course, there's probably still corpses buried in the garden, and I don't know if they, it's not so much a thing like that he touches people and they die. I think it might be a bit more sinister than that.
Once the door was shut, I found myself stuck back into a world of darkness. I hadn't even been 2 weeks, but the lack of light was beginning to become my normal. The outside world growing farther and farther away. Being holed up in here is definitely not good for me. I should go for a walk sometime. Maybe plant some flowers or vegetables? Yeah, I like that idea. Maybe I can grow the old tangle of roots and into some fresh parsnips. What else do we have to plant? It'd be great if there were some flower seeds.
What are you doing? Open the box, now.
As you wish, master. Oh, there's food inside.
In the box, there was a burlap sack filled with berries, root vegetables, smoked meats, as well as an assortment of bread, fruits, and wine. Aside from the fruit and bread, everything else was the same as what Michel kept in the cellar.
Huh.
And buried beneath the burlap sack was a single book.
1 book a month. He really hasn't gone outside in 10 years.
It appears you have begun to grasp the situation.
Yeah, but why? This was delivered by someone from your house, master, wasn't it?
A servant, I assume.
Why would they leave without saying anything?
No one wants to talk to a cursed man. In the past, they would occasionally check on me, but that hasn't happened recently.
They think you're cursed.
Ah, right, you don't believe in curses. Then come up with your own explanation. An excuse for them to want to stay away from me. That, for example, I killed someone, or maybe that I'm insane.
I couldn't.
Regardless, I'm not normal. Bring the food down to the cellar. The book is in the book to the library. You are, of course, free to refuse and run back off into the woods.
I'll do it.
Alright. Then you should take care of that.
Hey.
What is it?
I just noticed there's something else in here. It's wrapped in cloth. What could it be? Oh, a painting. For you to hang up somewhere in the house, I presume?
Huh.
It's so dark I can't see it very well, but I'm sure it's...
Don't touch that.
What?
Michel, who had kept his distance from me up until a point, suddenly marched over and ripped the painting from my grasp.
Master?
His face was twisted into a look that I had never seen him make before. It was indignation, disgust, hatred, panic. I couldn't tell, but there was more than enough negative pressure to cause me to flinch back.
Is that painting perhaps, something important?
A landscape painting. He muttered under his breath.
The tension melting away from his face. I was left looking at an unusually blank and impenetrable expression. But his eyes were still fixated on the picture, staring at it unblinkingly.
Why a landscape painting? Some kind of passive-aggressive message? It's not of anywhere nearby. Did they travel somewhere? Well, it's not of that girl, so that's an improvement.
Master?
Oh, you're still here.
Still here? Of course I'm still here. Who do you think you asked to take care of the package? What's with you? Just running over and snatching the painting from me? You scared me. Could you maybe explain yourself? What's so special about the painting?
I don't believe that's any of your business.
None of my... Of course it is. You ripped it out of my hands like it was some kind of thief. I have a right to understand what's going on after all, and maybe an apology while you're at it. You told me to open the box, so I did. Then all of a sudden you're angry.
We are not equals. Do not mistake yourself for my friend. You have a right to know. You have no such thing.
You don't have to be rude.
I'll say it again. Leave if you don't like it here. I never asked for you to be here. That was your wish.
My wish? Are you out of your mind? I never asked for this. I never wished for it. Who in their right mind would want to be sent to some house in the middle of nowhere? Who would ever want to go through that? No, calm down, Giselle. You can't get angry. You're right. This is what I wanted. But I never wanted to make you mad, or for us to argue like this. I just wanted to get to know you better, to get closer to you. I mean, it would make things smoother for both of us. It would make living together more enjoyable for us.
Listen carefully. This is very important for you to understand. Do not try to involve yourself with me. Do not go probing for information. And if you can't do that, leave.
I completely shut out. The glare he was giving me and the standoffish aura he was emanating were reflected in his tone of voice. Why? Why did he try to push me away like that?
Frustrating. It seemed Giselle really didn't know much about me. Despite being sent here from my house, she was unaware of the monthly deliveries, as well as my reason for why I left the mansion. I live in the mansion all by myself. Why, though, would they not have told her anything? Why had she been sent left completely in the dark? Giselle looked up at me, fear and bewilderment in her eyes, though I thought I could see a glint of suspicion beneath it all. Like her true feelings were bubbling to the surface. Everyone had darkness in them they kept hidden. No one was exactly who they appeared to be. She was undoubtedly thinking, I'm not here because I want to be. I knew from the moment I first saw her, her bubbly, sweet effect was all a facade. Had she thought I was dense enough not to realize? She was no different than anyone else. What I didn't understand, though, was why she refused to leave no matter how hard I pushed. What was she hiding beneath that innocent-looking face? What was she thinking? Why did she carry on her shoulders? Everyone is hiding something, deceiving those around them. There's always another secret. I had to figure out what she really was. May I ask you something?
Yes?
On the day you arrived, you said you made a teeny-tiny mistake while working at my family's house. Tell me about that. What did you do at the Bollinger estate? Bollinger. Why does that name sound familiar? Wait. Bollinger. Wasn't in... I might just be going crazy here, but in Mel Zanelli's story, remember the white-haired girl came in, and they said that she was associated with a estate that had collapsed. Was that Bollinger? That would be interesting if those two were paralleled in that way. In that moment, brief though it was, her disposition wavered. Fear, terror, no, perhaps anger. I couldn't tell. Nevertheless, I was abundantly clear that this was a subject she had no interest in me breaching, and so she had borne her fangs. The smile she donned now was visibly forced.
It's nothing you need to concern yourself with, Master. I promise it was an insignificant little thing. She couldn't say. Why couldn't she tell me? What had she done there? What did this woman know about that house? What did she know about me? What was concealed beneath that smile of hers? I am the master of this house. You are the servant. And still you refuse to tell me. Like I said, it's nothing. There was no reason to bother you with a mere servant's personal blunders, master.
What are you hiding?
I am not hiding anything.
Then you should be able to tell me exactly what you did at the Bollinger estate.
Like I said.
Tell me. Tell me.
You won't tell me a thing about yourself, and yet you demand others to tell you about themselves? Here you are, practically threatening me. Demanding I tell you something I do not want to talk about. And yet you still haven't told me anything about the painting.
Oh, so I was right. You do have something to hide. How many times must I repeat myself? We are not equals. I don't care if it's insignificant or something you don't want to talk about. Footsteps.
What?
I'm ordering you to tell me. A trifling blunder would not get someone sent to live with a cursed man in a house spoken of so unfavorably. Whatever she had done at the Bollinger estate, that had something to do with why she was here. If she truly hadn't done anything, then she had something to gain from this place, or possibly from me. And if that were the case, I had to get her to talk.
Make me... Giselle's eyes were open wide. I recognized the look she was giving me. I knew very well what that gaze meant. You're an abomination. It was the same as them. Fear, contempt, revulsion, repulsion. The way she acted, the way she spoke. It was exactly the same. You're no different. I made her uncomfortable. I made her afraid. She thought I was unpleasant. She thought I was despicable. She thought I was an abomination. In a frenzy, I grabbed her by the shoulders, clamping down far more powerfully than I had meant to. Oh, this is not good. Ow! Stop! Her face, contorted in pain, warped into someone else's. Who was I directing my anger at? Where was this rage being aimed? Who are you calling an abomination? What? Tell me, who? The black fervor bubbling up from within me knew no end. This girl, she ridiculed me. She denied my identity with her glare. I couldn't escape from the phantom, that reality. What are you? I never called you a... No, get away from me! Get your hands off me! Giselle's scream echoed in the entrance hall, rattling my eardrums. She frantically smacked my arms aside, and then I came back to my senses. She was standing a little ways away, breathing heavily, arms wrapped tightly around her body, glowering at me, showing her opposition to my touching her. Well, I think anyone would be opposed to you touching them like that. Good grief. Enlightening. No. You just, you startled me, that's all. Some servant you are, telling your master not to touch you. Right. I have, you know... I'm, allergic to people. It's very unique condition, I hear. I mean, can you believe that? See, you know how some people get real red and itchy when they touch a dog or a cat? It's that, except for people, So, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I beg your forgiveness. Why don't you speak your mind? What? This is what's going through your mind right now. I have nothing to apologize for. No, that's not... I can somewhat sympathize with your plight, being made to apologize even though you're hurting. I raised my hand against you first, after all. Then you forgive me? Sympathy does not equate to forgiveness. Now, you take care of the package. I'm heading back to my chambers.
What is it?
You're not going to make me leave after what I just did?
No, I am not. For it would seem I can make you leave on your own whenever I so please. Besides, I had yet to learn what she had done. It would be exceedingly difficult to get that story from her own mouth, which left me with one option: to write a letter to my mother, as much as the very thought of it revolted me. Interesting. Interesting. Ooh. I think we are going to be dropping here, but that does seem very fascinating. Interesting. What on earth is happening? Like, I'm just so in the dark with all of this right now. But like I said, it's really cool to see how like there are conversations that were maintained, and then there are parts that were completely like altered or have their meanings and implications completely different. I remember how he said, like, when we were saying that like there's more to the story, he talked about how like the fourth door story lacked humanity. I totally can see that very clearly now. This story has humanity. Both characters have their own motivations. A lot of the times we're seeing them interact, we're seeing a conflict based on misrepresentations or misapplied, like misguided emotions being put, like directed towards different people, but ending up kind of crossing into each other's paths. They both don't know what the other person's thinking, and they have no, but they're trying to guess, and they keep going in these off directions and misinterpreting. It's really cool to see a story from two different perspectives at the same time as well. It's a unique way to tell a story, and it's very it's refreshing in a way to see it like this. I wonder if there are any other books that have done that. I'm sure there are, but I'd be interested to see if there are any that are good that I would like to read. But anyway, I think we're gonna stop it here. It's been bit of a long episode for now, but like I also want to like digest what I've read so far, especially because we're getting to the close to the point in the story where the big event started with the crazy man that showed up. I don't know what the parallel is going to be, but we'll have to find out. Regardless, thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, it's a pleasure having you. Fata Morgana is going to be really fun, but sad because I know it's almost over. It's always sad when that happens, but at least we have a little bit more, and I'm really interested to see what the conclusion of this whole thing is going to be. What's the truth? And where is the witch? Where is Morgana? She's got to be here somewhere. Oh, real quick, I'll double check. I'm pretty sure Backlog's not going to have anything. It's like, let's see. I really don't think there's going to be anything, because we have yet to really see anything that could be an indication of it. So he was called an abomination. It is interesting too, like we're seeing like what reminds me of some of the different stories we've read up until now. There's different aspects of it that are similar. So it's like we have the kind of the courtly intrigue that we saw from the Nellie and Mel story. He has kind of flashbacks to being like called various names and such, like the Beast did, where the Beast was driven mad by being called Beast. He was called an abomination. It's like we see that kind of echoing there, and he has like a lot of pent-up rage about it. And then the isolation from one another, and kind of like the keeping apart and having this like relationship where the two people, like if they could just sit and talk, they would probably figure lots of stuff out, but they just refuse to do so, and it's going to cause problems. Is a lot like the Jacopo story. And so it's like those other stories. Maybe the whole reason why the mansion even got involved in those is because they had parallels to this story, the original story. So I wonder if we're ever going to find out like what the ties and distinctions are between them, but we'll have to find out some other time. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, it's a pleasure having you. And until the next video, watch the mirror. Hope to see me next. I'll see you there.